Hey guys, Connor here, and today I'm going to show you my art process. So what I have here is pretty much a city landscape, as I'll show you. As you can see, it is very detailed. I drew all these stone buildings like atmosphere, and here's it from full view. My process doing this was using pencil, mainly mechanical pencil. My references were actually pictures I took outside and took pictures of buildings and houses, and used mainly references and a combination of my imagination, because as you can see, this is not actually from life. Some of this was totally from my imagination. These are little transport portals thingies. And this was also my imagination too, for that's not a real city. And these little things here are drones actually hovering. But most of these are reference based with a combination of my little imaginative elements, so they're not exactly from the photo. So yeah, and that's it. And those people there, they're actually imaginative. So pretty much this is at a fictional world I came up using from my head. My plan next is to use watercolor, so I'm gonna have to go back in here and erase most of the graphite, but not completely. I still want to see some of it so I could go over the watercolor, but I don't want to leave too much graphite, else it's gonna mix in with the watercolor. I'm gonna go in with my eraser and just tap lightly. I'm gonna do that throughout the paper so I could get a nice transparent contour so I could see. But I'm pretty much gonna go in the sky first, get a really light layer through all of this, and then I'm gonna go into detail with these finer brushes, and I'm gonna experiment with this one, which I'm excited. It's not really a brush, it's more of a rubber tip, as you can see. Yeah, those are my finer brushes, and I'm going to use more of the fat brushes going into the sky. And the watercolor I'll be using is Koi, it's a brand, and it's mostly tube watercolor, so I'm going to use that. And yeah, and I'll see you when I've pretty much get rid of most of this graphite, but not completely erasing the drawing because that would be pointless. So yeah. And we're back. So I pretty much lightly erased the whole paper. As you can see, I still preserved some of the lines, but I didn't erase too much because I wanted to conserve that detail. I don't know if you guys can tell, but it's not as there's not so much graphite that would smudge when I go over with watercolor. My plan is to use the brown and blues to make kind of like a gray sky with a tad bit of yellow, but not too much. I'm just going to go in with the big brush and go over the sky. So yeah, let's get to it. Okay, so far I got the sky. Change the plans. I actually, when I was experimenting with colors and testing them out, I actually like the blue better, and the look, the light blue. I don't know if you could see that much, but I've decided to do that with the sky to give it a more cloudy atmosphere. So I just used a really light blue with the big brush. And it's there's a lot of ripples now because of the water, but that's okay. It's still wet. My next plan is to go over the city. I might use the browns and blues for the gray actually this time. I don't even actually need the yellow anymore. I didn't like how that turned out. I made a little green and I did not want that. So as you can see, I went really wet here and really light. I might actually go try out the sidewalk with lighter grays. Just pretty much cover the whole surface. And I'll test that out and I'll let you know. Okay, so we got the first layer down. So I actually went over and did a really light wash of gray over that and used the blue and brown to mix those light colors, the light gray. As you can see, there's kind of like a white horizon line, which I kind of like and I might keep. But that was kind of an accident, so I like how it turns out so far. So this is our first layer. Next step is to go in and do the midtones. That'd be the second layer. Then the third layer would probably be the details and darks. So yeah, let's get started with the midtone. And we're back. So pretty much I laid in the midtones. I laid in like the stones, got in the buildings, like that shadow work. I got kind of carried away with the buildings, so that's like, I'm not going to do anything more with that. That's pretty much done. I'm not going to make that any darker, but I plan to make some elements in here darker, just to balance out with the buildings in the back and the forefront. I preserved some of the whites there's no actual light source, so it's just pretty much just flat. So I'm just gonna leave it light on top and dark on the side. So yeah, it looks pretty good so far, and I'll see you when I finish this on my last block. And here we are on the final last layer. Sorry my camera was out of focus there, but pretty much what I'm doing here is just laying in those final last neutral colors with the grays and blacks. And another thing to keep in mind when doing watercolor is once you go dark, you can't really go back or erase or layer lighter colors over it. So that's why I always go in, start with lighter colors and to preserve the whites and the lights before I hop into darks or try to put darks in, because you can't go back once you do that. You can't go with light over dark. So it's kind of different than traditional oils, and watercolor is kind of like the opposite of oil painting. It's more of light to dark rather than dark to light. So that's pretty much a challenging aspect using watercolor, but once you get the hang of it, it's pretty satisfying and the results are rewarding. Also, you can see me just going in the back. It starts to get easier as the further back you go, the less detail. Just kind of quickly filled that in. So it wasn't too tedious as I thought it would be. So yeah, I just laid that in. That was the most satisfying part. And yeah, overall, then I just added the more detail and then it was all good to go. And we are back. So finally I finished this piece within the span of 2 weeks, and I'm very satisfied on how it turned out, especially arriving to those neutral tones of grays, ultimately conveying that moody atmosphere in this medieval futuristic world, and to arrive to a satisfying concept art piece. My first one, actually. This is my first concept art, and yeah, turned out really successful, and I'm glad I finished it. Just a quick overview. Before starting the piece, I actually started with a sketch, getting the idea and the tendon composition. Then I laid it in with pencil, and it turned out better than the sketch, and I'm more satisfied with this one, where it's less congested, less cluttered, and there's more space and breathing air
within this piece. So I'm glad how that turned out. And then I just went loosely with the watercolor, layered that on top. Then I layer the midtones and the darks. So the title of this piece is Western Continental Kingdom, which is a setting's name in my fictional world. So eventually I just had to use those smaller brushes to get into those details back further in those houses which were farther away. Use really fine brushes just to get in those windows, but the ones in the front were pretty easy. I still used a small brush, but it wasn't that tedious or that too precious to be very careful. I just kind of went in, got those textures in, and I focused more on the front because that's more of where the attention is. So when arriving to this concept art, I always had intended composition in mind where the camera pans up to reveal this vast, infinite city. And I just wanted to set the scene and what this world looks like and what it looks like in this story, this fictional world. I'm still creating and developing through a script, but this is the first concept art I did for the script. And it turned out really nice, and it's exactly how I imagined it. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and feel free to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you want to see more content and to support me further in my art making process. Hopefully I continue to make good concept art, good as these, and I plan to continue using watercolor, and as I progress I plan to get better and better. And yeah, thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.